God, I come before you with a heart that feels so heavy today. The relationships in my life that should bring me joy have become sources of such deep anxiety. I find myself constantly analyzing every word spoken, every gesture made, wondering if I'm enough, if I'm loved, if I'm valued. This need to control everything, to have everything my way, has become a prison of my own making. I recognize now that my desire to have things go according to my plans is actually separating me from the beautiful surrender you call me toward. Help me release this grip of control that only gives the illusion of peace but actually steals my joy. Lord, I confess that I've been trying to orchestrate my relationships according to my timeline, my expectations, my desires. I've been clutching so tightly to my own vision of how things should be that my hands are too full to receive what you want to give me. Forgive me for the times I've pushed away your guidance because it didn't align with what I wanted. Forgive me for the moments I've treated the people you've placed in my life as extensions of my will rather than as individuals with their own journeys and purposes. I acknowledge that true relationship isn't about control but about connection. Not about perfection but about grace-filled presence with one another. God, I feel the weight of anxiety pressing on my chest whenever relationships don't go my way. That tightness, that feeling of everything spiraling beyond my grasp. I bring it all to you now. You see how I've been measuring love by compliance, measuring worth by agreement, measuring success by how closely others follow my hidden rulebook. Break this pattern in me. I'm exhausted from trying to manipulate outcomes, from the constant disappointment when people don't meet my unspoken expectations, from the fear that if I don't manage everything, it will all fall apart. Show me that in loosening my grip, I'm not losing control. I'm gaining freedom. I ask you to transform how I view the relationships in my life. Help me to see that submission isn't weakness but strength found in trusting your greater vision. When I feel the urge to dictate how others should respond to me, remind me that love doesn't demand its own way. When I feel anxious because someone isn't following my internal script, help me pause and remember that you're writing a better story than I could ever orchestrate. Give me the courage to communicate honestly rather than manipulate subtly. Give me the wisdom to express my needs clearly rather than expect others to read my mind. Lord, I surrender my relationships to you. My marriage that sometimes feels like two people speaking different languages, my children who are growing into their own persons with their own minds, my friendships that sometimes drift in directions I didn't anticipate. Instead of clutching these relationships in fear, I open my hands now. I release my tight control. I acknowledge that my anxiety spikes when I try to make others conform to my expectations. Help me to love the real people in my life, not the idealized versions I've created in my mind. Help me to accept them as they are, just as you accept me with all my flaws and failures. God, I confess that often my anxiety in relationships stems from deeper wounds, rejection I've experienced, betrayals that still sting, moments when I felt invisible or unimportant. These wounds make me crave control as protection. But you offer a better way. You promise that in vulnerability, not in perfect management, we find connection. You demonstrate that in serving others, not in demanding service, we find fulfillment. You show that in submitting to your perfect will, not in forcing our imperfect plans, we find true peace. Heal those places in me that drive me to control rather than connect. For those watching this video, if you're struggling with relationship anxiety and the need to control outcomes, we have an ebook available in the pinned comment called Don't Think, Trust and Surrender. This resource offers practical faith-based strategies for releasing control anxiety and finding peace even when relationships don't go according to plan. It's a companion for this prayer journey we're on together. A reminder that you're not alone in this struggle. Lord, teach me the art of holding relationships with open hands. When I feel anxiety rising because things aren't going my way, help me take a deep breath and remember that you hold all things together. When I catch myself manipulating or maneuvering to get my desired outcome, give me the courage to stop, to apologize, to choose a different path. I want to experience the freedom that comes from truly trusting you with my relationships. I want to know the joy of loving people as they are, not as I demand them to be. I want to feel the peace that comes not from having everything under my control but from knowing the one who holds all things is good. God, rewrite my understanding of submission. For too long, I've seen it as weakness, as losing myself, as being taken advantage of. Show me that true submission to you, placing your will above my demands, is actually the path to becoming more fully myself. When I submit to your ways of love, patience, kindness, and self-control, I'm not diminishing who I am. I'm becoming who I was created to be. And when I approach my relationships from this place of secure identity in you, I no longer need to demand my way. I can listen. I can compromise. I can adapt without anxiety because my worth isn't determined by whether others follow my plans. I bring before you specific relationships that trigger my control anxiety. That friendship where I feel constantly insecure and find myself trying to manage every interaction. That family relationship where old patterns make me tense and defensive. That workplace connection where I feel the need to prove myself constantly. In each of these situations, help me recognize when I'm operating from anxiety rather than love. Give me practical wisdom to pause before reacting, to breathe before speaking, to pray before planning. Replace my anxious thoughts with your promises. Where I see potential rejection, help me trust your acceptance. Where I fear abandonment, help me rest in your constant presence. Lord, I know that my desire to have everything my way often comes from good intentions. I want relationships to be smooth, to be fulfilling, to be without conflict. But I recognize now that this desire for perfect comfort has actually prevented real growth. In trying to control others, I've missed opportunities to learn from them. In avoiding difficult conversations, I've missed chances for deeper connection. In managing appearances, I've missed the blessing of authenticity. Forgive me for these missed opportunities. Give me courage to embrace the beautiful mess of real relationships. The kind that aren't perfect but are perfectly designed for my growth and for your glory to be revealed. God, I ask for a new vision of what healthy relationships look like. Help me see that true intimacy comes not from controlling others but from being fully known and fully accepted. First by you, and then within the safe relationships you provide. Help me recognize when fear is driving my interactions and give me the strength to choose faith instead. When I feel the anxiety rising because someone isn't responding as I'd hoped, remind me to release my expectations and to respond with grace. When I catch myself manipulating to get my way, give me the humility to stop and the courage to be honest about my needs and feelings. I recognize that this journey of surrendering control isn't a one-time decision but a daily choice. Each morning, I need your help to loosen my grip on how I think my day should go, how I think others should behave, how I think love should be expressed. Each evening, I need your grace to cover the ways I've fallen back into anxious control patterns. Thank you that you're patient with me in this process. Thank you that you don't demand instant perfection but walk alongside me in gradual transformation. Help me extend this same grace to the people in my life, allowing them the space to grow at their own pace, loving them in their process just as you love me in mine. Lord, when I feel anxious about relationships, help me turn that energy toward prayer rather than control. Instead of manipulating circumstances, teach me to bring my concerns directly to you. Instead of rehearsing what I'll say to convince someone to see things my way, help me to listen first, to you and to them. Instead of measuring relationship success by compliance with my wishes, help me celebrate the beautiful diversity of perspectives and approaches that you've created. Give me a heart that finds joy not in getting my way but in seeing others thrive, even when their path looks different than what I would have chosen for them. God, I ask for discernment in my relationships. Help me distinguish between healthy boundaries and controlling behavior. Show me when to speak up and when to remain silent, when to stand firm and when to yield, when to initiate and when to wait. I confess that sometimes my anxiety masquerades as wisdom, telling me I need to take charge when really I need to trust your leading. Sometimes my control disguises itself as care, telling me I'm helping when really I'm hindering growth. Break through these deceptions. Give me clarity to see my motives honestly and courage to choose the harder but healthier path of releasing control. I pray specifically about the expectations I place on others that generate anxiety when unmet. Those unspoken rules about how quickly someone should respond to messages, how they should express appreciation, how they should prioritize our relationship. Help me examine these expectations in the light of your truth. Are they reasonable? Are they loving? Are they clearly communicated? Or are they unfair burdens I'm placing on others? Give me the wisdom to adjust my expectations where needed and the courage to communicate them clearly where appropriate, always holding them with open hands, always prioritizing relationship over being right. Lord, as I learn to surrender control in my relationships, teach me the power of genuine gratitude. Help me shift my focus from what others aren't doing to what they are doing, from how they're disappointing me to how they're blessing me. When I feel anxious about a relationship not meeting my needs, prompt me to pause and count the ways this person has enriched my life. Transform my critical eye into a perspective of appreciation. Let gratitude become my first response rather than anxiety or control. And in the spaces where legitimate needs remain unmet, give me the courage to address them with kindness and clarity rather than manipulation or resentment. God, I know that much of my anxiety comes from trying to find in human relationships what can only be fully found in relationship with you. No person can provide the perfect understanding, constant presence, and complete acceptance that my heart craves. Only you can. When I place these impossible expectations on others, both they and I end up disappointed and anxious. Center me in your love today. Remind me that I am fully known and fully loved by you, that my identity and worth are secure in that relationship. From that place of secure attachment with you, help me approach human relationships not as sources of my security but as expressions of your grace. I bring before you the physical manifestations of my relationship anxiety, the racing heart, the churning stomach, the tension headaches, the sleepless nights. I acknowledge that my body carries the weight of my need for control. Teach me to recognize these physical symptoms as invitations to pause, to breathe, to pray, to release. Replace the physiological patterns of anxiety with new patterns of peace. When I feel my jaw clenching or my shoulders tightening, let these be reminders to surrender again, to loosen my grip, to trust your presence and your care in every interaction, in every relationship challenge. Lord, help me recognize the root beliefs that drive my need to have everything my way. The lie that says if others don't do what I want, they don't really love me. The deception that claims if I can't control the outcome, everything will fall apart. The fear that whispers if I don't manage others' perceptions, I'll be rejected. Replace these distortions with your truth. Remind me that love is patient and kind, not demanding and controlling. Show me that in surrender, not in tight management, things fall beautifully into place according to your design. Assure me that my worth doesn't depend on others' approval but is securely established in your unchanging love. God, I ask for healing in relationships that have been damaged by my control anxiety. Where my fear has built walls, help me build bridges. Where my demands have created distance, help me offer grace. Where my manipulation has broken trust, help me rebuild with honesty and consistency. Give me the humility to acknowledge the ways my need for control has hurt others and the courage to make amends where possible. Thank you that you specialize in restoration, that no relationship is beyond your redemptive power when placed in your hands with sincere hearts willing to grow and change. I pray for a new chapter in my relationships, one characterized by freedom rather than fear, by trust rather than control, by genuine connection rather than perfect performance. When old patterns of anxiety emerge, help me recognize them quickly and choose a different response. When I feel the urge to micromanage others' choices, remind me to respect their journey as you respect mine. When I'm tempted to withdraw because things aren't going my way, give me the courage to remain engaged with honesty and vulnerability. Transform my approach to relationships from one of anxious control to one of peaceful presence, from demands to invitation, from fear to love. Lord, as I learn to submit to your ways rather than demanding mine, teach me the freedom found in flexibility. Help me to hold plans loosely, to adapt cheerfully, to find joy in the unexpected turns relationships often take. When relationships don't follow my anticipated script, remind me that you're still the author writing a beautiful story. When progress comes differently than I expected, help me celebrate the growth rather than criticize the path. When resolution arrives through means I wouldn't have chosen, teach me to recognize your hand at work even there. Replace my rigid expectations with hopeful anticipation of how you might work in ways beyond my imagination. God, I confess the jealousy that sometimes fuels my control in relationships, the envy when others receive attention I crave, the resentment when others succeed where I struggle, the insecurity when relationships around me seem stronger than my own. These feelings drive me to manipulate and manage in unhealthy ways. Uproot this jealousy and plant in its place genuine celebration of others. Help me find security not in comparison but in the unique calling and connections you've given me. Free me from the exhausting work of measuring relationships against others, and help me invest that energy instead in cultivating depth and authenticity right where I am. Lord, when I feel overwhelmed by relationship anxiety, bring me back to the simplicity of your greatest commands, to love you with all my heart and to love my neighbor as myself. Remind me that love is patient and kind, not insistent on its own way. When I'm caught in cycles of analysis, rumination, and control strategies, break through with the clarifying question, is what I'm doing right now loving? Give me the courage to release patterns that fail this test, no matter how comfortable or familiar they've become. Reshape my definition of successful relationships from getting my way to growing in love, your kind of selfless, securing, soul-nourishing love. I pray for wisdom in the practical moments of daily interaction when my anxiety typically flares. When I need to make decisions together with others but we disagree. When unexpected changes disrupt my carefully made plans. When others don't respond with the enthusiasm or gratitude I anticipated. In these trigger moments, help me pause before reacting. Give me words that build up rather than demand, that seek understanding rather than force agreement. Replace my anxious internal monologue with your promises of presence and provision. Transform these potential conflict points into opportunities for deeper connection through honest, respectful communication. God, help me find the balance between unhealthy control and responsible care in my relationships. Show me how to love well without managing outcomes, how to invest deeply without demanding returns, how to hold appropriate expectations without imposing unfair standards. When I need to speak truth, give me words wrapped in grace. When I need to establish boundaries, help me do so with clarity and kindness. When I need to address concerns, guide me in timing and approach. Replace my fear-based control with faith-filled stewardship of the relationships you've entrusted to me, always remembering that people belong to you, not to me. If you've been blessed by this prayer and find yourself resonating with the struggle to surrender control in your relationships, we invite you to like this video and share it with someone who might also need this message of hope. Together, we're learning that there's freedom in opening our hands, in submitting to God rather than demanding everything goes our way. Remember, you're not alone in this journey from anxiety to peace, from control to trust. Every time you choose surrender over demand, you're taking a step toward the relationship freedom your heart truly desires. Lord, as I close my time with you, I recommit to this journey of surrender. I know I won't perfectly release control today. I know anxiety will still rise when relationships don't go according to my plans. But I'm asking for your grace to help me recognize those moments more quickly, to pause and remember your faithfulness, to choose trust over fear. I'm asking for your strength to help me communicate directly rather than manipulate indirectly. I'm asking for your wisdom to distinguish between what I can change and what I must accept. Most of all, I'm asking for your love to flow through me, especially when relationships are challenging. When others disappoint me, when conflicts arise, when my plans are disrupted, help me respond from a place of secure attachment to you rather than anxious control.